Good evening. Thank you all for hello. All right. Good evening. Thank you all for your patience. Got it. I'm just going to talk really loud. Good evening. Thank you all for your patience. Thank you all for your patience as we got a few things together here. We'd like to call to order our Brunswick City Commission regular scheduled commission meeting for Wednesday, November 5th. And we would like to please stand for our call to order, invocation, and pledge of allegiance. For our invocation, we have with us Elder Sean Slay from Greater Works Than These Ministries. You could please come up to the front. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you for all Greater Works does in our community inside the city of Brunswick, feeding the hungry, to bike giveaways, to everything that you all do that pours into our community. And thank you for your leadership inside of that church, Elder.
Thank you. Let us pray. Dear Lord, we come before your throne of grace on this evening. And Father, we thank you for the opportunity to invite you into this meeting. We thank you for the leadership of the city of Brunswick, our mayor, our commissioners, our city manager, our city attorney, and our city clerk, and all that they do to govern this city. Father, we thank you that we are obedient to your word to pray for those who are in authority, that it may go well with us and that we would have peace. Now, Father, everything that they have planned, as they commit their works into your hand, we ask according to your word that you would make all of their work successful. In Jesus' name, amen.
I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Elder Slay. With that, we will move on to the adoption of the November 5th, 2025 regular meeting agenda. Is there any addendums or subtractions? I will say at the onset, as we open it up, for item number 4, we've had obviously a lot of interest in this item. What we have heard is that many people have not felt that they have had the correct amount of notice or these documents, or been asked about this issue, and more people wanted longer time to be able to give their thoughts and opinions. Because of that, we will be opening up to the commission for their decision to make a decision whether to continue to move forward on number 4 or to defer number 4. If we decide to defer number 4, which is consider approval of the height waiver, if we decide to defer it, because everyone has shown up, we will open up that same time for public comment from both sides. So if you are here at that point in time, if this item is deferred, you all will have 2 to 3 minutes outside of those who may be presenting on the actual topic. We'll try and keep it to we'll say 2 to 4 minutes on those who have discussion points on item number 4, which is the zoning and to consider the approval of the height waiver. So I hope I've explained that as best I can. And with that, we will open it to the will of the commission for the adoption of the November 5th, 2025 regular meeting agenda. Is there any addendums or subtraction?
Mr. Mayor, I would like to make an addendum to our agenda.
Yes, ma'am.
I've moved to defer item number 4, the consider approval of height waiver to the 45th height limit in the mixed-use city core historic zoning district to construct a dry stack boat storage facility at the Brunswick Landing Marina on to our December the 3rd meeting.
Hearing a first, do I hear a second? Second. Hearing a first and a second, all those in favor show by a sign of aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the same. Hearing none, the motion passes. With that, as I've said, number 4, the action on the item is deferred. We will use that moment on the agenda to hear from both sides. With that, we will move to public comment. City Clerk
Oh,
Atkins.
I do have a request for a deferral on item number 7. That's the city attorney's item. Consider approval for agreement between the city of Brunswick and American Cruise Lines. We are still working through the language on that agreement. I've asked the city clerk, I spoke to her earlier, that if there is a deferral, we do not do it date specific, but I do expect it to be done this year.
Hearing from the city attorney, do we have a motion?
Motion to defer item 7. Motion to defer item number 7, consider approval of the agreement between the City of Brunswick and American Cruise Line for docking at Mary Ross Park.
Hearing a first, do I hear a second?
Second.
Hearing a first and a second, all those in favor show by the usual sign of aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the same. Hearing none, the motion passes. With those 2 changes to the agenda, we'll now move forward to the adoption of the November 5th agenda as amended. Do I hear it first?
Mr. Mayor, I do have one question or clarification with City Attorney before I make a motion to approve the amended agenda. With the deferral of item number 4 on our agenda, does that still allow us the opportunity to receive the staff report and entertain that item other than just a public hearing? Or with the deferral of that item, does that table that presentation from staff?
I would say the tables it since it's deferred up front. But I mean, it's up to the commission as to what they wanted to hear. But if you've deferred it off the agenda, I mean, I think it's gonna be difficult to have public comment, maybe without some guidance from staff, but that's up to the commission to consider.
Mr. Mayor, I would like to propose that we still entertain item number 4 on the agenda at the time that we receive both the staff report and if we choose to open it up for public comment. If we're not in a position that we feel like we've heard enough from the public at that time, I think then it would be applicable to then defer that decision to another time. But
Mr. Mayor, since I made the motion to defer to December 3rd, that means everything needs to be deferred. We initially stated that we're going to listen to the public comments of the people present here. So that's where I'm standing. I do not think we need to hear from the staff at this time. We just need to hear from the public.
Okay, points of clarity. Legal, you said.
It's been deferred off the agenda, and I think there was directive that you would hear from the public comment.
Okay, so that's good. Okay.
All right. So with that, we'll move forward to the adoption of the November 5th, 2025 agenda as stated. Do I hear a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we adopt the agenda. Okay, let me make sure. I want to just back up. Because we know that is the point of the majority of the discussion that will probably be held tonight, is item number 4. And so with that, it's only going to be public comment, not a presentation. Okay. I just want to make sure I understand that. Okay, so with that clarity, I make a motion that we move forward with the agenda as amended.
Hearing a first, do I hear a second? Hearing a first and a second, all those in favor show by the usual sign of aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the same. Hearing none, the agenda is adopted. We will now move on to the public comment period. City Clerk.
Johnny Hillary.
I'd like to speak on taxes and the aggressiveness of these taxes and the procedure that they're going through to do to make these taxes up. They fixed up 4 shotgun houses. 4 shotgun houses, all of them built in the 50s, just like mine. $61,000 added on to the $40,000 that are already there. Ain't nothing changed in my house. And just like when I bought the house. And nothing changed, only except for I put a utility house over there. Now I bought a lot right next door where I parked my car. All right. I went to them, tried to talk to them about it. They refused to budge, but they budged on a bunch of houses that they overpraised. And like I said, it's not fair that those 4 shotgun houses drive my bill up just that far. What you think gonna happen later on? All the rich gotta do is come in there, fix up a shotgun house, and that whole neighborhood goes up. It's not fair. Somebody need to be checking it out, even if we have to get Atlanta down here. Cause like I said, it's not fair that they can make their own rules up and can't nobody do nothing about it. That's not fair for the county having that kind of power. And like I said, nothing has changed. I put 2 dormers on my house 17 years ago. 17 years ago. I got 14 feet of attic. First, you gotta say, well, if you had to build that house over again, what you think it's gonna cost? I wouldn't have 14 feet of attic, because now they have insulation. I wouldn't put the 14 feet of attic back, and that's 3/4 of my house, you know? And it's not fair that they went up for no reason at all, except for those 4 shotgun houses. How do you do that? How is that fair? And like I said, if we have to get Atlanta down here to justify this stuff, it's not fair that the county is this aggressive. And like I said, I just felt like they could do that now. To me, what about the next neighborhood they go to? Like I say, they got plenty of houses they done built in the county, and them houses got to be filled, but I don't want to be one of them. That's all to it. And like I said, somebody need to be checking into it, because it's too aggressive the way they doing it, and they got no control over what they doing. Because like I said, if they do it in my neighborhood this week, what neighborhood they gonna go to next, huh? And like I said, I think you got some animosity behind it, because like I say, I call it the Mason-Dixon line, that's Gloucester Street. And on north of Gloucester Street is what I figure they targeting. And I don't feel like it's fair. That's all I gotta say.
Thank you, Mr. Hillary. I want to speak to just a couple things in the tax space. Number one, we are not in charge of those valuations. The tax commissioner is, so we will make sure that we send an email directly to his office connecting you, Mr. Hillary, with the tax assessor's
Assessors.
office. I apologize. With the tax assessor's office. So we will make sure that we connect both of you all together. The 2 things that I do want to talk about that the city has done to control taxes is, number one, we passed a homestead exemption last night. So thank you to the citizens of Brunswick who, for the first time in the city's history, we have provided tax relief for our home owners. But before we passed that, we also worked on House Bill 581. And House Bill 581 caps your house assessments at the rate of inflation. That is something we passed in Atlanta and something we approved and opted in here. And so as we connect you with the tax assessor's office, we'll make sure we provide that information as well, Mr. Hillary. Thank you so much. City Clerk?
Royal Chip and Kathy Chip.
Mr. and Mrs. Chip, when you come up, would you please state your address as well for us?
Yes.
Thank you.
My name is Royal Chip. This is my wife, Kathy. We live at 4862 Malabar Drive in College Park, 31520. We're here tonight to talk about what has happened, the damage that has happened to our property, where trees fell on the fence and two times on 2 different occasions. I think we spoke with Ms. Rowe here and Ms. McCullough, is that her name? Okay, yes. And Mr. Galverson, whatever. But anyway, the point we're trying to make here is this. When the tree fell on our property twice, the first time, we didn't know anything. We didn't know what to do. We didn't know who to see about the tree falling on our property. So we took care of it ourselves. We didn't notify the city. We cut everything up and had it removed. What do you need? This copies?
You can bring it up, Ms. Chip.
Well, the point I was trying to make is this. the time the first tree fell, like I said, we didn't know who to see about it, the damages or whatever, because it had done it. So we took care of it ourselves. But the second time this tree fell, there's a tree that fell from the other side, not on this side, but on the same side of the ditch from the same property. And it did damage. It damaged the rest of the fence. So we got in touch with the city and contacted Mr. Garrison, I think that's his name is Garrison, Albertson, please forgive me with the names. And he came out and looked at it and he was saying something, and he made an interesting statement that this tree that fell was an act of God. Have you ever heard that before? That the tree belongs, is an act of God? Anyway, that's what he told us. Okay, but anyway, I'll let my wife finish. I ain't going nowhere. I'm gonna move right to the side. You get around me.
Okay, we've been told that the city has no responsibility for the tree that fell from across the ditch onto our fence and destroyed it because it was an act of God. Our response to that is that, as the picture shows, the tree was rotten, and if maintenance had been done to the ditch, then that tree could have been recognized. I have been told that it was our responsibility to notify the city, Public Works, that there was a dead tree there. My responsibility is to my property. That property across the ditch is the city's property. And we've been in this house for over 30 years, and we have rarely seen maintenance back there to the ditch. If you notice in the picture, you can see all the overgrowth in that area, and that the tree was dead. It was not a healthy tree. It should have been taken down. And like my husband said, that the tree fell on our house, on that fence. It's been over a year ago, but this one fell during the time of the construction of the drainage, storm drains, and we greatly appreciate that project started. We have no problems with that. Anything we can do to help or to whatever, we are more than willing to do, because it has certainly been needed. And we look forward to the fact to when it's finished, because our house is flooded twice because of poor drainage of that ditch. And we've had to tear out sheetrock, and we were hoping that a third time would not come. But at any rate, the tree destroyed our fence. It belonged to the city. City had not been maintaining the ditch. We feel like the city has some responsibility as far as the destruction of our private property. And that's why we're here tonight. And the worst part about it is that we have been told that we needed to notify the city. It's not my job. That's their job to do what they're supposed to do as far as maintenance and making sure that things are the way they should be.
Mr. and Ms. Chip, I'd like to be able to take this information, look at it, and talk to our staff. We usually don't make a lot of comments from up here because this is our first time hearing of it. So if you let me take this picture, we'll discuss it as a commission and also discuss it with staff, and within the week, make sure we get you all an answer directly to you if that works.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Question before we leave.
Yes, sir, please.
Has there ever been any damage done to citizens' property in the city that the city has taken responsibility for and repaired the damage that you know of?
There have been, I believe, mistakes made by sometimes city staff in which we had to pay and repair or make sure we covered whatever that mistake would have been. This may be a different situation, so I don't want to speak outside of the bounds of my knowledge. So if you give me just a little bit of time, we'll be able to speak more intelligently to it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. and Mrs. Chip.
Thank you.
And thank you all for your work in College Park.
Mhm.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
City Clerk.
Official public comment section.
Thank you. With that, we will move on to update from the CKH Group.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I
Good
hope
evening.
that you're all having a good week so far. So on behalf of CKH Group, I'd like to take a moment just to report back on the status of our current engagement with the city. Before I dive into it, I have provided everybody with a copy of the revised version of the financial report that we've been working on cosmetically to make it more presentable. So as of the end of last week, we have been able to reconcile all of the city's bank accounts. My team and I have also started working through the July and August 2025 bank reconciliations as well for fiscal year 26. And as of now, we've completed about 15 of the bank reconciliations for July. We are also currently working closely with the finance team, Mr. Henry and Leslie in specific, as we've started aggressively getting the necessary documents ready and uploaded for the auditors that are needed for fiscal year 2025. So in terms of the financial report provided, I wanted to share a representation of what the new and improved hard copy of the financial report will look like. As you can see, it does look much more uniform. Each section has been formatted and presented in a uniform fashion. And this has been a bit of a slower process in order to get this financial report looking the way it is. But we believe that getting it right the first time is vitally important. So we have spent extra detail and attention was put into it to ensure that the report that we build for the city and for Ms. McDuffie to share with the mayor and council represents the data and the information that needs to be presented. I would like to also point out that the data that's presented in the report today is the first draft pre-audit data as of June 30th, 2025. We are in the process of making sure that all the numbers make sense. So that would entail making sure that all the adjustments that should have been made are made, any accruals that needed to be raised or reversed have been handled, and that all necessary allocations have been made before the trial balance gets presented to the auditor. And then basically just touching base on, I've already mentioned it already, but as you can see, the report has been neatened up. The main cover page, which is the overall standing, we are still working on because we would like to add the exact information and the precise information that the city would want to see. So that page will be finalized in due course. With that, that's basically the update that I have of today. We are, as I mentioned, we are working with the finance team closely to get the 2025 audit documentation ready for the auditor, and we strive to potentially have all of that info in the auditor's portal within the next 2 weeks. With that being said, if there's any questions or comment, that's all I have for you today.
Thank you for that information. Any questions or comments from the commission?
Mr. Mayor, I have a couple comments. That's Carol on the screen online.
Yes, it is.
Carol, this is Commissioner Atkinson Williams. We are just getting a hard copy of this report, and I'm noting some deficits you have here, and I was wondering, before I start asking questions across the dais, may we have a meeting or schedule a meeting face-to-face or with you all for a more in-depth discussion? Or maybe I and another commissioner?
We can definitely arrange that. I have been in discussions with Ms. McDuffie of coming down to the city to, as we finalize these pieces. So I will confirm with her, and then I will ask that the message gets conveyed to everybody at that time.
Okay, and I also, you mentioned that you are preparing for fiscal year 2025 audit report. And I was trying to see, did you all resolve the deficit of the $193,000 deficit that was reported in the audit for stormwater for the fiscal year audit 2024? Have you all transferred or had those transfers been corrected? Because I'm still seeing a deficit here on your report.
So as I mentioned, we are working through our initial focus was to make sure that the banks are all accurate and reconciled for the fiscal year. So because that is now done, we're able to filter through the remaining items in order to ensure that the balances are correctly presented at the time of the audit. So I have made a note of your concern, and I will definitely make sure that it is looked into this week.
Okay, I will have more whenever Ms. McDuffie gets back with us about meeting, and I have more detailed questions, or hopefully you will also have a more updated presentation too as well, okay? Thank you.
Absolutely.
Commissioner, those numbers are pre-audit as well, so there's a lot of transactions that are not in there. But we will schedule a meeting to discuss it in detail. Thank you.
You mean pre-audit before the auditors look at the 2025 year, or pre-audit for the 2024? I'm
Pre-audit for the 2025 year and before all of the transactions and transfers have been made.
okay, all right, thank you.
Any additional questions or comments?
I'll reserve my comments, as we are just getting this. I want to be able to make sure I'm following exactly the report. I see it's showing the different categories, so I want to be more specific. And I don't want to prolong the time, regarding this matter, because I want to get really specific and delve, even deeper into, how, the information was derived, what the supporting documentation, all of that different stuff looks like, as to how we arrived at, these figures and numbers. Maybe some of the stuff I see on the Harris Roosevelt Center, and it's going into those specifics. So I want to be able to really, have that one-on-one and person-to-person contact or conversation regarding what we've just received. So I'm not prepared to really go into depths into this report at this present time.
And again, I would caution you on looking at those numbers because they are, like the Roosevelt Harris Center, all of the grant money has not been accrued into it. So it's a lot of transactions that will be on those reports, especially for the fiscal year end.
Okay, so in essence, because I want to make sure, in essence, this is a demonstration of what our financial reports are going to look like coming forward. They're not the specific numbers. Okay, so we should have opened with that. Okay, because I mean, we're getting this information and I'm like, okay, I don't have enough time to go through all of this stuff and pull this out and look at that. So this is a demonstration to the commission based upon our prior request and dealing with financial matters, that this is a demonstration of how our reports are now going to be presented to us and what we can expect and how we
Yes.
can expect to read through these reports.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, let's open with that the next time.
Thank you. I'm sorry.
Commissioner Atkinson Williams.
I'm a little confused. I thought earlier you just said that all the transfers and entries have not been completed. If that's the case, this is not a demonstration or illustration. It is an incomplete report.
Well, I had asked him to take the numbers out because it was incomplete, but he was still trying to manage the numbers and see how they would run. So when he printed it out, it is a very incomplete report, but it's similar to what will be given, but it mainly, what our presentation this evening was for the formatting and for the actual, how the information will be presented.
Demonstration
Yes.
of what we're gonna look forward to receiving as they move forward with reconciling these numbers. So we can have a more exact report. So we're not to take this information on this report as concrete information, just to show us how we're gonna be receiving our future reports. Again, we should open with that, so we wouldn't have the expectation of what we were reviewing is concrete at this point.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you, CKH, for joining us, and staff for continuing to work on that.
Thank you.
With that, we move to items to consider for approval. Number 3, approval of October 15, 2025 regular scheduled meeting minutes. Are there any addendums or subtractions? Hearing none, we'll open for a motion.
Second.
Hearing a first and a second, all those in favor show by the sign of aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the same. Hearing none, the motion passes. Now we will move on to the public hearing portion for number 4, and we will move in order. I will remind those who are coming up. I will remind those who are coming up to. I will remind those who are. I will remind those who are coming up to keep it brief, between 2 to 4 minutes, please, so we can move through the list. The first name, I'm going to mess up some of these, is I'm going to do the one that I can say. So if you have a name that I can say and you know I'm talking about you, help me out a little bit here. Miss Mary, 917 Egmont Street. There we go. It is good to see you.
Mary Helen Basenka, 917 Egmont Street. Thank you, Commissioners, for the opportunity to have public input this evening. I'm a little sorry that the lengthy detailed staff report, including the approval by the Planning Commission, is not available to everyone this evening, especially those who have not heard about what's going on. But here we are, and I am here to say I am very much in favor of the commission approving the request for the waiver of the height limit so that the dry docks can move forward. Maybe that will lead to more development down at the marina. Maybe not, things happen. But what brought us to Brunswick in 2019 was showing up with our boat, docking at the marina, and walking across the street on a first Friday in December. Wow. It was a wonderful introduction. And when we retired, we chose to retire to Brunswick because of the marina, because of historic downtown, because of the historic district, and because of the wonderful community here. We know that there are financial issues going on. We know we'd all love to see our taxes lowered and a larger tax base brought in. I think that this is an opportunity to work with Taurus Properties to a win-win situation for Taurus Properties, for the finances of Brunswick City, and for the community. And it has to start with something, and apparently has to start with this approval of the height. I can do this. The waiver of the height limitation, and I ask that you seriously consider that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mary. I will say, only one say, I do appreciate a good hand clap, but I don't want us to get into the place of trying to somehow show approval on what people are saying or not saying. So if we could just have public comment and then move forward, that would help us continue with the meeting. But I do thank you for the enthusiasm. With that, we will go to Paige Edwards, 4042 Riverside.
Hello, Commission. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak today. My name is Paige Edwards. I've been born and raised in Glenn County. I went away for a little while and had a career up in Atlanta for 26 years and then came back home to where it was sane, I thought. But anyway, I currently serve on the Mainland Planning Commission for Glenn County. And because I'd like to be involved in the community. I think it would be great for y'all to approve this height waiver for the marina. And I have a couple reasons here. First, there's a need and a demand for it. We have an increased population. We have a lot of newcomers. And I had some training today when they were talking about the critical need for workforce housing. And a lot of things that we've been approving lately through the commission, people are wanting smaller lots for housing. So they're like putting more houses in less space. Well, when you do that, you don't have anywhere to park a boat. And so they do want to enjoy everything we have to offer here in Brunswick. So there is really a demand for dry storage and safe storage for boats in this area. You know, sitting in your driveway, sitting in a parking lot and other places, it's open to be damaged or something stolen from it or it being stolen. Like I said, a lot of these newcomers, especially if you have condos, apartments, and neighborhoods with HOAs, they won't allow you to have a boat, so they have to have somewhere to put it. Let's see, like I said, we want everybody to enjoy Brunswick. And we talked about the security, and also we need to remember it also, as she said, it promotes the city. And we want to promote the city. Like I said, I think I've said this before, is we don't have, one of our main attractions is the water for the city. We don't have a bunch of golf courses like the islands have. So we want to bring those tourists to the city. We want them to stay on the mainland and let us collect that SPLOST money for all that spending they're doing. So I really appreciate it, and I hope y'all will consider waiving the height requirement. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ms. Edwards. I may be saying this wrong. Jack, 111 Tall Pine Road. There we go.
Thank you very much. My name's Jack Starrett. I live in 111 Tall Pine Road, St. Simons. I'm a boater. I've been at the marina. I've been in Brunswick for 50 years, Glenn County for 50 years. Waiving the height requirement will help attract new boaters. It'll be good for the boaters who are here and the boaters who store. There are a lot of people who store their boats in Brunswick and visit from other places, and so they keep their boats here. So I've traveled up and down the East Coast, and Brunswick Landing Marina is one of the nicest marinas on the East Coast, and this only makes it better by waiving the height requirement. Thank you.
Rachel, 1000 Mallory Street.
So it's Rachel Palco. Palco, yeah. I'm the co-owner with my husband, David, of the Sandbox SSI down in St. Simons Island. And as you said, we're homeowners as well. We have a place where people come and launch their businesses. And as a consultant, that's a coastal consultant, I'm frequently working with business owners about their portfolio and what they want, the impact they want to have locally. And the fact that we have such powerful opportunity zones, and this is in an opportunity zone, it attracts a different kind of investment. It attracts a kind of investment that actually is long-term and goes on. It's not a, I'm going to invest, flip, make money and run. It's a, let's do it here. So the fact that we've got a family-owned business that's been in our community for a very long time, we're going about this, they're going about this in a way that's very responsible for long-term growth in the community. I think that this is the kind of thing that let's get them started. I could read all this, we'd all get bored, but the closing thought is Brunswick has been waiting for the next chapter in its waterfront story. And this project turns the page responsibly, thoughtfully, and with the right people at the helm.
Thank you. I'm gonna butcher this because I cannot read it. Is this Barger? Am I close? There we go. I'm not sure if that's Mr. Barger, 202 Dunbar Drive, St. Simons.
Great. It's Barger, B-A-R-G-E-R, Barger. I was the original developer of Riverfront Plaza and my family's owned an office building there for over 40 years. And it's done pretty well without having boat storage stacks right next to that property. These are all professional buildings there, and my initial reaction was, you know, I wasn't even given the opportunity to know that this was even going to be held tonight. As a property owner over there, I learned about it through the grapevine. I didn't get any kind of correspondence from anyone from the government or from the commission, and on a 2-day notice. I'm not sure that it's a good thing for that area to even have a boat dock storage there, much less one that's 20 feet above the requirements now. I appreciate the fact that you've deferred this to give us some time to think through this. And I'm sure at that time we'll have had some time to better let you know what our concerns are. Thank you.
Thank you. And Elijah Chansey. Number 9, St. Andrew's Court.
Hey, everybody. My name's Elijah Chansey. Like Mr. Barger, we have some professional buildings over at 9 St. Andrew's Court. My mother, Linda Chansey, and I own 3 of them, and we're directly on the southern border of the marina. I think that the dry dock boat storage is incompatible with the mixed use purpose and adjacent height context of the district. The district is meant to strengthen a human-friendly mixed-use area and maintain existing character. And I don't think that the height of the dry storage matches the adjacent buildings. I think that there's absolutely no formal or criteria-based height waiver process that we have in place. So thank you for deferring until we can figure out what the process and the criteria should be so that they can be applied consistently to other future construction projects. There's going to be noise, lighting, traffic conflicts, and elevated risks to nearby citizens, not benefits. There's going to have to be sprinklers and on-site hydrants, fire load there's also going to be like fire load from the stacked boats that have fuel inside of them right next to professional buildings. So I think there's certainly unresolved health and safety issues. We've seen no independent technical studies that show the noise impact because it's going to be right across like 20 feet away from our professional buildings. So we're going to have to listen to like forklift engines, backup alarms, boats getting knocked around inside of the rails there. So that's going to impact our offices because the plan is to put it right next to our professional buildings. I think there's going to be environmental risks to both the tidewaters and the marsh. I think there's going to be increased stormwater pollution from oils, fuels, metals, washed down wastewater with paint residues, spill potential. And there's also hurricane risk from having, if we have a hurricane come through and we've got all of those boats, 65 feet tall worth of boats being blown around in a category 2, 3 plus storm, that's just a lot of inertia that can damage nearby buildings. I think it's going to be an operational nuisance next to our offices. Like early morning to dusk means lots of noise starting from 6 a.m., listening to all the forklifts and, nobody really wants to listen to that, especially there's a dentist office right there as well that's going to impact all of those patients. And I think a 65-foot tall wall is going to dominate the view of the river from both 341 and the neighboring offices. And by wall, I mean all the boats. I think that there's no compatibility with the historic district in Brunswick here. There's also been no mention of where we're measuring 65 feet from. Are we measuring from the ground? Are we measuring from the low tide mark, from the high tide mark? So I think there's definitely some missing context there. There's been no mention of adding any sort of trees or like visual softening between the boat stock and the professional buildings there. And I think it's going to be an irreversible precedent on the waterfront. Like we're talking about approving an industrial scale boat rack there where I don't think that's very friendly for pedestrians walking around or the quaint vibe of downtown Brunswick that we all know and love. And I think there's going to be economic harm to the neighbors, which would be the landowners of the professional buildings adjacent to it. So I think for all of these reasons, we should deny the height waiver.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There is another Chancey. I'm not sure what the first two letters are. There we go. Mrs. Chancey.
Hi, I'm L.A. Chancey. I have lived at 9 St. Andrews Court, Suite 202, 203 since 1999. I'm a long-term resident there. I've seen everything that's happened on the waterfront for that 26-year period. I have a question. Thank you for these. One came 48 hours ago. The other one came today. So I don't know whose responsibility, if it was the applicant, the licensure, to make sure that people in the surrounding area were notified. But had I not gotten this one 48 hours ago, there's no way I could have responded tonight to this one, which I didn't get until after 5 o'clock. So I have a couple of points. I'll try to keep it brief. It really kind of concerns around the infrastructure and where it's located. I think if everybody had gotten substantial notice in a timely fashion, that people would have been here in mass to have fought, even having this 45-footer or 48-footer, whatever it is currently, raised to the height waiver, I hope, is disregarded. That's the worst case scenario for people like us. I share a landline border with Brunswick Landing Marina. So my question is, I see that the permit was applied for by Brunswick Landing Marina, Inc., but I also see that Atlantic Southeast Enterprises actually owns the 93.89 acres that exist there that this boat storage facility is being built on. So who has the liability? If Brunswick Landing Marina has made application for this permit, but they don't own the land, who owns this facility? The cash arm or Brunswick Landing Marina? Atlantic Southeast Enterprises is the parent company according to Q Public. So the question is, if all hell breaks loose, if we have a wind and water event, who's going to pay damages? Who's liable? As everybody knows, a lot of people lost their insurance because of the current cost. We went from $3,000 a year to $24,000 a year. That you can't pay that. So we're not going to have any sort of liability insurance for flying objects. But that's just one issue. So is the permit issued to legitimate authority for the original approval 60, 90 days ago? That's a question that I don't know if you have the answer to.
During public comment, we don't answer questions just
Okay.
because of that.
All right.
We will take those questions down and provide answer.
Okay. I think, if we'd had better notice, more people would have responded. We didn't, and so that leaves us with an approval that I think a lot of us that are in close proximity to Brunswick Landing Marina absolutely do not want. So we hope that this height waiver is tossed at the very minimum. And if this permit wasn't issued to the legitimate authority, we're back to square one and it should be thrown out.
Thank you. If possible, before you leave, could we see those two notices that you have? Commissioner Atkinson Williams would like to see. Thank you so much. With that, we will keep it going. Mr. Worley, 700 block of Carpenter Street.
Good evening, Commissioners, Mr. Mayor. I'm surprised I'm the first one to congratulate y'all that got reelected last night. So positive result for the city. I'm very excited about that. I'm also here to speak in opposition to this waiver request. I echo the concerns about notice that a lot of the other folks have come up to express. I only know that this was happening tonight because Mr. Torres posted on social media soliciting positive comments to be submitted in support of his application. And I happened to see that, and that's how I know that this was being heard tonight. I also have some concerns about the process and specifically due process of how we've gotten here. I know the ordinance provides that the city can approve a waiver of the height limitation. And as Mr. Chancey said, there's no guidelines or criteria in there. Y'all that know me know that I practiced local government law for 20 years until last year. And I was advisor to the planning commissions. A waiver in the zoning process is not really a procedure that I'm familiar with. Normally you would come for a variance, and that would require public hearings, notice, of the public hearing, not only to the neighboring landowners, but a sign out front and an ad in the paper. I don't know if any of that was done here. I drove by the property today and did not see any kind of public notice of the hearing for tonight. And so I was looking at the ordinances, trying to figure out what the criteria was for a waiver. Not seeing any. I went to the variance section of the ordinance, which I think maybe could provide some guidance, without any other in there in the code. And under a variance, a applicant has to prove a unique hardship for the property. It's something that is unique to their property and is a hardship. I think most importantly, the ordinance says relief can be granted only to the extent necessary to alleviate such unnecessary hardship and not as a convenience to the applicant. I haven't seen any demonstration of a hardship here. I've seen some what look like conclusory documents that have been provided, I presume, to the city. I know they've been posted online of statements by sociologists and economists and those things saying this is going to be an economic benefit to the city, that is going to create jobs. I haven't seen anything to back that up other than just those statements. I haven't seen any specifics about how many jobs it's supposed to create or what economic impact it's supposed to have on the city. I think barring that, I share the concerns of some of the previous speakers that a 65-foot storage facility there is going to dominate the skyline at that part of the city. And, some of the other speakers in favor said the waterfront is an asset to the city, but I think as we all know, there's not a whole lot of access to the citizens to that waterfront because we've let development get in there and get between the citizens and the waterfront. And I don't think this is going to provide any more access to the citizens of the city of Brunswick to that waterfront. Now, it's private property, so they don't have access anyway, but I think to try to say that it's going to benefit the city by giving people more access to the waterway is disingenuous. So I would ask that when this comes back up, that you deny it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Worley. Mr. Turner, 917 Egmont Street.
And congratulations to all of y'all. Robbie Turner, I'm native of Glenn County. Well, since I was 4, some people will count that as a native. My office has been at number 1 St. Andrews Court since 1989. I purchased the building in 2003 and in the insurance agency at that time. Riverfront Plaza is a nicely done business district. The city helped promote it when it was developed. They worked with the developer. They wanted some businesses to help boost the downtown. We are made up of, we have some lawyers, we have a dentist, we have my insurance firm, we have real estate, a therapist. There's 18 lots and I believe 12 businesses currently on those lots. We are not opposed to growth downtown. I say I am not, and I think most of our folks like the development coming to downtown. We're looking forward to apartments and condominiums and restaurants, and Riverfront Plaza has opened our parking lot. Every time there's a city event, we allow people to park. So we try to work with the city. I'm just going to make a few points. The process needs a little tweaking. Not to have any notice and to have a major change is, we ought to have a voice, and we might not. Sometimes if we know what's coming, we don't even really know. We had to dig to find out information. I got a notice on Monday. If you'd like it, it was date stamped October 30th. I sent an email as president of Riverfront Plaza to the other unit owners, and I said, please feel free to make comments to Mr. Hunter. And I was copied on, I think, 15 of the 18 unit owners, but most of them have expressed the concern for not being able to have a process. The second thing is this structure. Most people, everybody's for, marina, growth, dry dock, storage, okay? Do you know, I don't know if anybody knows the details, but as I dug into this thing, it's 20 feet off our property line where our businesses are located. Most of our businesses are 2-story, so we are 30 feet tall. This structure is proposed to be 65 feet tall. The zoning ordinances talk about waivers, or let's see, Much Code 23-3-21, the buffer requirement, let's see, it says it needs to be the height of adjacent property. It should be like the similar. The only building that's close to this height is the steeple on the tower in Mary Ross Waterfront Park. And actually, this structure would be a good bit higher than the top of the steeple. Now, do you know how big the structure is? It's 298 feet. That's the length of a football field. It will extend from the water practically to the 4-lane highway. Not quite to the 4-lane, but 100 feet. Then it's got 1 feet, 2 buildings. So it's going to be about 80 feet wide, probably actually wider than that if you count the 2 buildings. 300 feet long, a football field, actually bigger than a football field, height and width. That's a concern. So I hope before getting all enthused, because everybody likes new things coming, we need to look at it, because this is be a precedent for the city of Brunswick. And I'm afraid people would ride by and see, what's this structure over the treetops? So those are some of my main points. I do want to say, while we're not opposed to it, 2 concerns. Under the prior code, this would have been industrial property. This marina, the marina's fine, but a dry dock storage would fall under the industrial class code if you look at the codes. An industrial structure next to a residential office is a requirement of a 50-foot buffer. The plans have a 20-foot buffer. 20 feet is about half the distance of this room. And that's not fair to the folks. The other thing I want to say is Mr. Torres has, according to the tax records, 107 acres of property. I have a diagram I'd like to leave you if I can to show you how much property. Very little of it has structures on it. So to the man's point earlier, I don't think this is a hardship. I think it's a financial decision. If I can pack it all in here, 20 feet off the property line and not worry about them, but look what I can do with the rest of my property. And so I think this is a financial move, not a hardship move. And I hope y'all will consider that. The last thing, noise is a factor because when you have a dry dock building, those boats are going to need new engines. They're going to need repairs. They're going to need cleaning. And they don't have trailers. These 30 and 40-foot boats. So people are going to come there and be hammering and welding, and the forklift's going to be beeping, and they're going to be in an office somewhere, and the dentist and the psychiatrist and the other offices there are going to be affected for a long time. Please, let's work it out, put it down further, at least a 50-foot buffer, and don't build a massive structure that's not appropriate. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Turner. Thank you for being a long-term business owner and fighter for the city of Brunswick. With that, we will, I want to make sure I didn't skip anybody. Is there two Mr. Turners? Okay, Mr. Turner. It's okay. I'll put you I got you. Yes, ma'am. Please, Mr. Turner. And can you give us your first name so we know we're moving in the right direction?
My name is Keith Turner. I live at 917 Egmont Street.
Okay.
I am in favor of the variance or the waiver, whatever the correct legal term is for the building of this structure. However, one thing I realize here tonight is that there's a whole lot, as was mentioned earlier by one of the commissioners, there's some confusion and other voices that need to be heard. So what I've seen, this is the third meeting about this particular issue, and it doesn't seem that enough time has been allotted or enough opportunity to speak to just this one issue. And so shelving this to the next meeting in December, that doesn't give me any indication that there's going to be any more time for more people to have this kind of discussion. So I'm just wondering, and I know you can't answer this question, but perhaps someone can. I'm wondering who is responsible, who would be the person to go to say, let's have a public hearing on this issue, just on this issue, and allow enough time for everyone that has an opinion that's concerned about it to speak.
I appreciate that. What we will do is we will ensure from our city clerk's office, we send out notice that everyone can sign up for public comment before any meeting, but we will ensure that we provide space for public comment on this issue as we continue to move on it. Thank you, Mr. Turner. With that, we will move on to Mr. Robbie. I'm just going to say Mr. Robbie before I mess up that last name. Horner Vamp?
Hunter Camp. Yeah.
Okay, there we go.
Robbie Hunter Camp at 528 New
Camp. All right.
Yeah. I'll answer anything. Yeah, thanks for the opportunity to speak. I'll be brief. I wanted to come here in support of the marina waiver as well. Although I do agree with the previous speaker, it does seem like there are certainly some communication issues and transparency issues, perhaps with local property owners that need to be hashed out as well. I can tell you my wife and I were quite excited when we read the news about what Torres Properties was going to be doing with the marina. and opening up what is private property to have a boardwalk and actually have public access to that space that there's really no public access to now, or reason for the public to access it now anyway. Having a boardwalk there would be fantastic. And as not wearing my work hat, but as someone who works downtown, I can tell you that, we've definitely seen a drop in business. And I can tell you that the marina customers coming into our shop downtown has been very helpful and very reliable. And, I certainly hope the city can do whatever it can to support the marina. I feel like what the Tourist Properties is doing or has proposed to do down there is almost a gift to us in the city of Brunswick. And I hope we can work out communication issues and hopefully come to some resolution and pass a waiver, or come to some sort of conclusion that will make everyone happy. Thank you.
Appreciate that. With that, we will move on to Miss Angie Busby, 502 P Street.
Hello, Mayor and Council. Thank you so much for giving us this opportunity. I do live at 502 P Street. I'm a new resident. A little bit of my background to kind of give you some reference on the nature of my response, and definitely in favor of the development, in favor of a 20-inch increase to the variance or waiver that we're speaking to for the development, so the development can move forward. Came down here, about a year and a half ago, lived on St. Simon's Island for about 8 months. Through some of my previous experience doing economic development and tourism for the city of Canton, I realized really quickly what was going on in Brunswick. Very excited about what was going on in Brunswick, and everything from downtown development to Main Street programs, everything that's happening First Fridays. Decided to purchase in Brunswick because of those things, but also because of the development that I had researched that had been approved last fall. The economic development and tourism side of my comments is about how these two are interrelated. And when you can take any type of opportunity zone like the waterfront and expand on it and bring more people in to spend more money, especially to the Main Street downtown businesses, that's a huge asset for the city. So again, my opinion here is that I want to stay here. I want to keep my roots in. I want to help be a part of this. I think that what the tourist group is doing is really the beginning of some larger developments where bigger investors will come in and take a look. So I would love to see this happen. And I think this one issue with the height variance, it'd be really, disappointing for me to know that one little thing kept this larger development from moving forward. And if I understand correctly, and I'll leave on this, the development itself was already approved. Now we're just talking about one piece of that development. And if I understood correctly when I read through it, the dry dock was part of that original approval. So a couple of things there where I'm like hoping that we can just move forward on that variance and be able to let something that I think would be a huge asset to the city move forward. So thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. We'll now move on to Carson Wall, 210 Dartmouth. Wall.
Carson Wall, 210 Dartmouth. I appreciate some of the business owners' opinions, but I think the real issue is something like this would drive the port to clean their mess up. It would drive businesses. A lot of these people complaining are business owners, promote their businesses. I think for my age specifically, I'm younger, there's no job opportunities for us here. I work remote, luckily, but there needs to be something promoting infrastructure here. And it seems like people seem to hinder that at times because they don't like change. That's just.
Appreciate that, Mr. Wall. And the last person we'll have is Ms. Williams.
Good evening, Mayor and City Commission. I moved here in 1973, and Brunswick was really kind of a small town back then, and I've kind of grown up with it. And I've got 2 children who live here who are married, and I have 4 grandchildren. and we are very invested in this community. And in 1982, I decided that I had left the district attorney's office and the private practice of law with another attorney and decided I wanted to have an office myself. And I was one of the first owners in the Downtown Development. The Downtown Development Authority was behind the Riverfront Plaza. And if for all of you who did not know this, is when the Riverfront Plaza was developed, it was supposed to be developed and everybody understood it was like this nice professional business, quaint kind of investment in property that would look like the downtown Brunswick area and be conducive to like bringing the streets in Brunswick down to the waterfront and encouraging what I call a pleasant environment. And so in 1983, I built my building in the Riverfront Plaza, and it was at that had the property was the Downtown Development Authority, and that's how the development started. And when the Riverfront Plaza started, then it was really the first time ever that Brunswick had had this kind of environment on the waterfront. And the idea was to encourage that kind of development on the waterfront and encourage people to leave Main Street and come down and walk around. And then you've got Mary Ross Park, and we had the farmers market and all kinds of, wonderful things that we have at Mary Ross. And while I don't disapprove of the marina, I highly disapprove of this monster development that's really going to take away from the ambiance and what we have in this area down there. And we've talked about the noise and all, but nobody's even talked to you about the potential smell issues. I mean, we've got potential nuisances coming right next to our doorstep. And I mean, and I was concerned that we didn't have any notice. I didn't know until Mr. Turner called me, Robbie Turner called me and said we had this meeting today. I had not a clue that any of this had occurred. And I agree that legally it's a good thing to put this aside and try to see that people do have a proper notice and that they have a proper due process and that there's an equal protection issue here. I mean, I agree that we need development. I mean, what kind of development do we need and what really is it bringing? And I don't think we can say, oh, we're going to have all these jobs. Those are conclusory statements. Everybody can come in here and make conclusory statements about what something is going to do, but you need facts to base it upon. And I'm really concerned that that has not been done here. And so I really appreciate you deferring it. I think it was a very wise decision. And I look forward to continuing to tell you that while I'm not against development, and I'm like one of the few on the waterfront who was there back in '83, I think that it has to be the proper kind to encourage the proper development. And I'm not really sure that this is the answer to that. And I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. With that, we will close out item number 4. Thank you to everyone who's came. Thank you for everyone who's given your time and your opinions. And thank you for the work that business owners and property owners inside of the city have done to show up to let us know how you feel. So we appreciate all of you all deeply. With that, we'll move on to number 5, consider approval of additional funding for College Park subdivision drainage project. City Manager McDuffie. City Manager, if you could just hold off for a couple minutes and let the room clear. Floor is open, City Manager. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. The College Park Drainage Project, as you know, started back in long ago. The city and county, of course, jointly applied for a grant in 2022. At the time of that application, the original project cost was $12 million. I presented some information to you all at the Finance Committee, which included the agenda item and a spreadsheet. I have added an additional spreadsheet to try and clarify some of the numbers and make sure that we are presenting them in a manner that, is clear. So this project, as I said, we did a joint application for the $12.6 million estimate and that was supposed to be for all 4 phases. But as time and changes of the project increase, the cost of the project has increased. Phase 1 and Phase 2 were, all of the funding for that was approved. The Phase 1, if you look at the spreadsheet that has the summary of funding sources and uses, you can see that Phase 1 was $11 million. Phase 2 was $3.2 million for a total of $14.2 million. That funding has been approved by the commission for those 2 phases to be completed. They are near completion. Phase 1 should be completed by the end of the year. Phase 2 is scheduled to be complete as of early spring of next year. Phase 3 and Phase 4 are still pending. The funding cost of Phase 3 is $9.2 million. Phase 4 is estimated at roughly $2.5 million for a total of $11,709,000 for Phase 2, 3, and 4. Those 2 phases, we are currently applying for a hazard mitigation grant for $8.7 million. That would be 75% of the funding for Phase 3 and 4. The state will put in 10%, which is $1.1 million. And then the local match between the county and the city is an additional 15%. Of that, the county will contribute $1.1 million, and the city's portion is $579,000, or about 5%, for the total $11.7 million for the project. At this time, as it shows on the spreadsheet, the total funding required by the county would be roughly $3.5 million, and the city would be $1.9 million. The city's funding, we have already approved. The initial funding, $700,000 was approved at the start of the project. Last year in November, we approved an additional $773,000, and now we're asking for an additional $452,000 to complete the required funding for the city. Now, in addition to the hazard mitigation grant, the county is planning to apply for another disaster recovery grant, but that grant application period is not started yet. So we are going to apply, and if we get that grant, then our local match will be covered by it. But because we don't have that money in hand, we have to make a commitment in order to make the application for the hazard mitigation grant. And that's what the additional funding for the city and county local match is required at this time. So I will entertain any questions you have.
Questions or comments from the commission?
I have a quick question, Ms. McDuffie. Can you tell me again the timeline and the funding timeline for the hazard mitigation, and then also the CDBG-DR? What our anticipation is? So the hazard mitigation grant, that application process is open. So we need to approve that it's a funded project to get that started. So let's say that goes through. Is that 6 months out? Is that a year out? Where are we at?
I will have to confer with I have someone from the county here, Mr. Reston Talbot. But before I answer that question, let me also, the mayor had a question at the Finance Committee, and I forgot to address that. Mayor, your question was about the SPOS funds and the availability. And I did get some information from Garo in terms of the SPOS funds that have been freed up. You know, every project that we've done through the drainage we have successfully gotten grants for. So for the Macon Talmadge, we saved $500,000 because of the grant funds. And then for the Albany Street, we saved $1.1 million because of grant funds. So we have money that was set aside for those previous projects that we can lend to this project for completion. And that's where that money will come from.
In the
Okay.
drainage stormwater category.
Right, it's in the SPOS drainage category. And, you know, as we go forward, we will continue to apply for grants so that we can leverage our money better. But anyway.
Good evening, Commissioners. Resident Talbert, Director of Capital Development for Glenn County. So we anticipate that grant period can typically take up to 2 years. We think it's going to be much sooner than that, but I would rather overpromise or underpromise and overdeliver than the opposite. So we anticipate within 2 years, we should have that award. And we do feel very confident in getting that award. And we also feel pretty confident in getting the DR award that would cover the local match. But like Ms. McDuffie stated, we still have to, you know, if we don't get it, contribute that local match.
Gotcha. Well, I do know when DCA was down a couple of weeks ago for the site visit, they did mention the DR funding, and fairly optimistic that that will release in March, April-ish, springtime for that new grant cycle.
Yes, sir.
Some additional one. All right, thank you for the.
Any additional questions or comments? Hearing none, we'll open it for a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the additional funding requested for the College Park drainage project.
Second.
Hearing a first and a second, all those in favor show by a sign of aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the same. Hearing none, the motion passes. Thank you so much, City Manager. We will now move on to consider approval of holiday gift cards. City Manager McDuffie.
Thank you, Mayor. As we have in the past years offered $100 gift cards to our full-time employees and $50 gift cards to our part-time employees for longevity and for their service to the city, I am requesting that we offer those again. The total cost is estimated at about $24,000, and we will pay that from attrition in the department's budgets.
Any questions or comments?
Ms. McDuffie, I have a question. Can you tell me how you are going to process these gift cards? Because they are taxable income.
Yes, we will tax the income for those gift cards. The gift cards will be passed out, but we will tax the income for them through the ADP system.
Okay.
Questions or comments?
Can you just remind me, sorry, I know a couple, 2 years ago, maybe we did Walmart gift cards. Are these?
Well, the thing is, it's gotten kind of different because this year, and I have to look, but they said they were bank gift cards, but it's through a credit card company, and it's kind of gotten difficult because they change.
I get you. So they're like Visa gift card or whatever. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
So how much each, I know you say you're going to go through the budget of each department. So with this gift card, how much are we grossing up, and how much are we grossing up for the $100, and how much are we grossing up for the $50 to cover the taxes?
Okay, so the tax amount is $1,600 total.
Total for the whole 24,000? I
Mhm.
mean, okay. Okay.
Any additional questions or comments?
And
Here.
how many employees are we?
We are just rounded it to 227 part-time, 200 full-time, 27 part-time.
Okay. Thank you.
Mhm. Oh, yeah. We would have to look at the temps and determine, you know, their longevity and their, in the departments. If they've been there for longer than 6 months, then they probably get a gift card, unless you all have some recommendation on that.
Are the, and this is just, I was checking last year, you know, they were you know, and I know we're looking at figures and what things cost, but during the season of giving and times are getting really, really hard for individuals and families. And it's just kind of like it's kind of like you getting invited to a birthday party and you're on it, but just because you were tagged along, like you don't get a gift, right? It's just not a look.
And I understand. Well, we'll try to accommodate that as best we can.
Most of them, and partners know they're working, right, so they're 3 months, 6 months, or so, that's good.
Oh, roughly how many temps do we have? I don't even have a grasp on that.
I don't know, probably maybe 12 at this point, but I'd have to
Not a
look.
significant number.
No, I mean, it's probably less than 10. Yes, ma'am.
Are the temps paid through our payroll system, or do you pay the contracted vendor?
No, they aren't paid through us.
Not paid through us?
No, they're paid through whatever temporary agency they're working for.
That was gonna be my question as well. Because everybody that's employed is not an employee.
Thank you.
I think after the approval, it would be good for maybe the commission to give a little bit of direction of where we want to go on that. So maybe.
Thank you.
We will open it up for a motion to consider approval of holiday gift cards.
That we approve holiday gift card based off the presentation that city manager had provided.
Yes, ma'am. Here in the first, do I hear a second?
Second.
Here in the first and a second. All those in favor show by the usual sign of aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the same. Hearing none, the motion passes. We will now move on to executive session for the
Thank you,
purposes
Mayor.
of- Thank you. Do you have, if you don't have it, it's all good. Okay. We will open it up for an adjournment to executive session for litigation and real estate.
Mr. Mayor, make a motion that we adjourn to executive session for purposes of litigation and real estate.
Here in the first, do I hear a second?
Second.
Here in the first and the second, all those in favor show by a sign of aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the same. Hearing none, the motion passes. We are adjourned for executive. We are back from executive session and we do have a motion.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, I'll move to authorize the mayor to execute a quit claim deed to be held in trust in accordance with the order of Glenn County Superior Court.
Here in the first, do I hear a second?
Second.
Here in the second, all those in favor show by a sign of aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the same. Hearing none, the motion passes. We will now open it for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Here in the first, here first and second, all those in favor show by a sign of aye. Aye. All those opposed, the same. Hearing none, we are adjourned.